Hello, fellow cinephiles, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Talk Film to Me podcast, where we talk about films in Kenya and beyond. I'm your host, Nkatha. Let's talk film. So, today we are going to be talking about Bangarang. I actually wonder how they came to that name. I think that's the first question I asked myself. I was like, why them waliita Bangarang? But anyway, this story, out of all the films that I've reviewed, this is the sixth film, and I would say this has the heaviest story. Coming second. Actually, Between the Rains comes second. This is definitely the first. This story is very heavy. It's based on true events. It's a drama. It's a drama movie. I think it's 82 minutes long. That's a feature film. 1 hour and some minutes on top. And it's about a man who protests the Kenyan general elections, and sadly he finds himself wrongfully implicated in an infant's death. This story is written and directed by Odongo Robi, I think under Lakewood Productions. I hope I said that outright. And it has acclaimed 26 awards. And if I am not wrong, it was in the Cannes. Is it Cannes or Cannes? I think Cannes Festival. Let me just say Cannes. And it was written in 2017. The writer wrote it in 2017 from a personal experience. If you look up online, you can see how he came about this story, because he was involved both in, he found himself always in the middle of this post-election violence things. Now, if you were born earlier, of course, I believe if you're listening to this, you were probably around during the 2007, 2008 post-election violence. I can remember it personally well. I was in primary school. I hope that doesn't tell my age. I was in primary school, and I remember we couldn't leave the house to go buy food for supper. So we didn't have food not because our parents couldn't afford to go to give us money to go and buy groceries from the market. It's because it was not safe to get out. By then we lived in Kasarani Mweki, and it was a bit close to what's Dandora, I think. And there was always something coming up. Gunshots became quite normal for us. You'd hear gunshots in the morning, during the day, at night, and I would say, I experienced it, but I'm sure, from seeing this story, there are people who experienced it real bad. And if you can remember the church that got burned in, was it Elbag? I can't remember. I think it's Elbagon. But there were definitely areas that were more affected than the area that I was staying in by then. So this story is a really heavy story. So if you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. By this point, I think from the second episode, all the films that I've reviewed are on Netflix. So at this, just get Netflix, because I think I will go through a number of films on Netflix, but I'm also going to review films on Showmax and on My Movies Africa. So we'll have an episode to discuss where you can get Kenyan films when we talk about distribution. But for now, if you're looking for a cheap place to get Kenyan movies, you can get them on My Movies Africa. You don't need to have a subscription. You just need to rent a movie or buy. And some go for as low as 20 shillings. And some 200 bob, 100. So you can watch with your people, and then come back, listen to my review, and it's enjoyable. Rather, you can just get Netflix. And there's this babe on Instagram, she's called Jambi Fever. I think she advertises Netflix account sharer. I don't know. Yeah, but I think he's cheaper than the others. Now, I don't know if by me saying this, I'm actually promoting piracy or plagiarism, But yeah, I think there are ways to get this films. But let's get into the film. The cinematography, light, and sound of this film. I would say since it's in 2021, we're currently in 2024. Definitely the equipment that we were using back then and now are very different. So you can't really judge. Again, now also, as we talk about these films, we have to consider budget, which is something I was thinking about. And we keep saying the film was not good, the camera, nini, were bad. I think at this point, you have to understand if we're talking about your cinematography and we're saying it's bad, or I am saying I did not like the cinematography, you could have done better, it's because you had a budget for better camera, for better equipment, for better DOP. For this, I don't know what Bangarang's budget looks like, but I would say that their angles were nice. They had nice shots, really nice shots. The lighting was here, there. I There were especially scenes where Otile. So the main character in this film is called Otile. I'm not even giving you guys the rundown of the film. This film is about Otile, who is a graduate. He got a first class honors and has a degree in automotive engineering. He sadly fails to get a job, and he blames the current leadership for him failing to get a job because after the elections, the person that he voted for did not get the seat. I think in this film, the person who did not get the seat is called Jacom. It is clearly set between Luos and Kikuyus, which is definitely how our country is set. It always feels like two tribes are ruling, which in the current regime that we're in right now, it feels now like there's a stronger third that's coming in. Now there's the Kalenjin, there's the Kikuyu, and there's the Luo. But for this particular film, it's between the Kikuyu and the Luo. So of course, Otile supports Jacom, the Luo, and he's angry. He has convinced himself that he did not get any job opportunity. He has not gotten any job opportunity because of his tribe. And he has a girlfriend who they both studied in the same campus, and the girlfriend has a job. She's seemingly doing much better than Otile. And of course, now I think as a man, first of all, Otile is not comfortable with this, but I don't think that's the main point. The main point is that the girlfriend is called Jerry, and Jerry is Kikuyu. So the fact is that you, Jerry, you're Kikuyu, you have a job. I am Otile, I think Osiabo, Otieno, I can't remember his Luo name. He doesn't have a Polycarp Otile. So I think Otile is the Luo name. And Otile does not have a job. So obviously it's like this government led by a Kikuyu will not give me a job because I am Luo. And he finds himself in wrongfully implicated in an infant's death when he's running away from the cops, and he enters a house of his friend, in quotes. I would say that because I don't think they really had that good a relationship. I think they just knew each other, but I wouldn't term them as friends according to how they were portrayed in the film. And sadly, he enters Dan's house, and Dan is a coward. Simply to say, Dan is a coward, and Dan goes under the bed and he's hiding. So the cops think, we were chasing someone. We can't find him. Otile is seated on the couch comfortably. He's removed his shirt that he was being chased with. He's drinking tea. He looks like a man who is in his house. His wife is on the bed holding a 6-month-old baby Joy. So Dan ameingia chini ya kitanda. Obviously, if you're the cop and you're looking for somebody who was running away, you're going to think whoever is under the bed is whoever you are chasing. So they were like, it's you. And in the middle of hitting Dan Nini, they hit Baby Joy, and Baby Joy dies. So of course, Otile sees this has happened. Well, the baby does not die instantly. The baby dies after being taken to hospital, and sadly, her skull has been crushed. and the doctors are not able to save her. So Otile runs away. He attends Baby Joy's burial, and in the end, things sort of work out for Otile, but we'll get to that point because I did not understand what happened in the last scenes of this film. But I definitely like from beginning all the way up to a certain part. So cinematography was amazing, lights, nah, sound was, I would say sound was great. I Now in the film industry, I think I would know when I'm looking at a good angle, and like also like when you see cinematography, just basically if you see a good camera angle and good shots, you will know that's a nice shot. For sound, it might take me a minute to realize, especially if I'm already invested in the story. And if the like unless the sound is really bad where there are noises on you, I hope my podcast doesn't sound like that. But for sound, like if you can't if it's not disrupting, then you already have people watching your film. I would say people say that in a film, if your sound is good and cinematography is good and your story is good, I think you have the people hooked. The actors, of course they matter, but like sound is a huge deal in film. So if the sound is great, people wouldn't notice a bit of a mishap here and a mishap there. So if there was any, I did not notice it. For me, it was great. Costume, makeup, set design. For the costume, I loved how they dressed Otile. I like it portrayed a character of somebody who's lost hope and doesn't care. Because Otile's character was very arrogant, and you could tell he was hurt. You could tell he was very much invested in understanding, but at the same time, he was a kind person. He was a person with reason. You could tell he was reasoning differently from his counterparts, who he was demonstrating with, or rather picketing with. So I would say his costume was really nice, as well as everyone else, the cops. It all made sense. It represented a setting of a certain culture, or rather, if you went to Kisumu and you were told this is how it looked like, without, or rather, let me just say this: if you watch the film and you're also taken to Kisumu, you can already tell, okay, yeah, whatever I saw in the film is exactly what is there on the ground. So I would say they did a good job. Makeup, the SFX was really, really good. The gunshots were believable. At this point, the films that I've reviewed, I still get angry when I come to the point of gunshots, because there was a film I reviewed and the gunshots were not good. If you cannot be able to capture good gunshots because your audience will see it and realize it, just cheat somehow. As a filmmaker, just find a way to cheat around it. You do not have to show us the gun going in and the bullet coming out, because there was a part in this film where they did that. They shot this guy who was buying ice cream and he was struggling, like, give me change, the cops are coming, and he was shot. We saw like a splatter of blood on the guy who was selling, this guy was asking for change, the ice cream seller. We saw some splatter of blood on him. And then we saw one cop kneeling down. We definitely made out that he was cutting out the bullet, and he put it back in his pocket. Now, the only problem I had with that was that they did not make his hands bloody to show that he was touching blood or something like that. But generally, it was great that we didn't have to see him actually doing it, because that would have been a very hard thing to actualize. So if you can't actualize it, just find a way to cheat. The audience is smart. We'll feel it in for ourselves. Because we did not see that part, but we already know, since he's kneeling down and he's taking out something, this is what he's doing. So if you can't actualize it, find a way to go about it that will not make you look dumb. So I really like the SFX for this film. Now, set design. Every scene where they were acting for the demonstrations, I loved it. It looked real. For a second, I actually thought they were like they took shots from when we had the election violence, the demonstrations, the picketing. They were so good. They were so original, so authentic. I love, like they did a great job. Ilikuwa tu inakaa, yep, that is how it would look like whenever there's a demonstration going on. And even how the news reporter would go and ask people seated somewhere, that is exactly how it happened during those times. You go, you'll mostly find idle people because of lack of employment. Sorry, because of unemployment. They're seated somewhere, they're idle. The only thing they can do is sit down and complain. This government is not doing this for us. This government is not doing this for us. They should open the servers. And I loved how real, or rather how based on the truth the story was. Because we all saw that lorry going into the judiciary with a lorry full of evidence. And servers are going to be opened. And these people are saying, hata kama hakuna funguo ya server, watatafuta, si watakuja hapa watu wa kukata vifunguo ni wengi. These people, like you could tell, these people don't know what they're talking about, but they have a little bit of hope. I just loved how real that was, because when you go on the ground, that is what actually, or rather, that is what I would love to think, that people think, like out there, like go talk to people. That's what people think. And it is literally a representation of what's happening in our country. Not even just back then, even right now. I mean, we can all see how the economy is doing. Only a blind person would not see how terrible the economy is doing. But something that I learned today before I recorded this, I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Somebody said bless me. It's evening, so the allergies are kicking in. Oh my god, this is so unfair. Anyway, what I was saying is that somebody who's not a leader knows exactly how to be a leader until they become the leader. So I would say, like right now, we all know what the president is doing wrong. Like, just lower the cost of living. But if you sit down really and think about it, it's not, I don't think that's how it works. But also, I believe that there are decisions and choices that he could make that could lead us there, could lead us to exactly where we want to go. So I'm not saying that, I don't want to be cancelled for this, but definitely this film represents what the country is going through, not just back then, because life is not getting any easier for some people. There are people who are flourishing, and I hope you're one of them, in this economy, and there are people who are not. So and in this film, Jerry was Otile's girlfriend, and I hated how Otile treated Jerry, and they still ended up together. No, as a person who supports, who loves, empowerment of women in films, I did not like that bit. I did not, but I think generally it helped with the story, because you could see how much Jerry loved Otile. Yani, this babe risked her life to go to Otile's place. Jerry is Kikuyu. Wakikuyu hawafai kuonekana huku. So even the neighbor sees her and shouts, Mkikuyu! And of course, Jerry has to run. Juu unataka ujulikane wewe ni Mkikuyu uko huko kwa Waluo, utauliwa. No, according to those times in the film. So really, it was a really good film, and yeah, I just, I'm just thinking about how Jerry loved that guy and all that she did, and I'm like, yo. But it really helped with the story. Now, the ending of the story is something that I still haven't understood if we were to talk about the storyline. Mbona walipea Polycarp kazi? Because he saved the cops, because there was a time, there's a scene where the cops, Mariamu, your Land Rover, ilikuwa kwa matope somewhere, and since Polycarp Otile is an automotive engineer, he helps, the people wanted to ban the cop and the car in it. Now we all know how this is common during demonstrations. This happens, but Polycarp stopped the people and they helped this cop and, the car. And I think probably that's why, for me, I think it was just not a strong, it was not a strong motive for them to give Polycarp the job, but still served purpose in the end. We all love a story that ends happily, And also, when I think about this film, and how Baby Joy died, how could I forget saying that? So, this story actually represents a true story. The story of Baby Joy dying is a story that is true. There was a Baby Pendo, and Baby Pendo was killed during the elections, PV, and she was 6 months old, and she was killed by cops. Now, in the story, Baby Joy was killed, and she was like the fifth baby. She was a rainbow baby, and the parents had tried. They kept miscarrying, and this was a baby that brought joy in their lives. And then people come and kill your child. I cried, by the way. I remembered seeing Baby Pendo in the papers, and I got so angry. And I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry because imagine losing your baby because cops are killing a 6-month-old, and then the papers read that the people who were killed were not innocent. They were participating in the demonstrations and looting property. What was a 6-month-old doing in the streets picketing? And this represents that time. And I know for everyone it's very different, but it definitely represents that time and what people went through during that time. And also, here we go again. Every time I get emotional, I end up losing my trail of thoughts because I just want to take a moment. But you're going to wonder, ma'am, can you continue speaking? Can you continue telling us about the film? But anyway, it represents that time for us. And it's really sad because in the papers, they just write that those people are not innocent. And when the cops, or rather the heads of these cops, are asked to speak, they say just some nonsense. They don't acquiesce, like they don't agree that we are sorry that some of our policemen were not did not do what they are supposed to do, and that is protect the citizens. They take an oath, for crying out loud, to protect the citizens, and they did not. By the way, I said one word for this film is trigger, because all the things that happen whenever there's a demonstration, people die from live bullets. And then you hear it was somebody who was in the house, amuli walikuwaje kwa streets, and it's the right of people to picket and to demonstrate. It's not anyone's right to ruin somebody else's property based on their tribe, based on who they supported during the last elections, but it's definitely a right, to be on the street and say, this, I do not agree with this. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we're a democratic country, And even in the current times, I definitely do not agree. Like I've said earlier, I don't agree with what the president is doing because his choices have led us here. But at the same time, I admit that I also do not know what choices he can make, to steer us into the right direction. And I just hope that Kenyans will learn, because every time we're about to have an election, people start going back to their original homes. Kama mi ni Meru, narudi kwetu Meru. Wa Mkikuyu, narudi kwenyu Central. A Luo goes all the way to Kisumu. Yani hatuwezi kaa hapa Nairobi because you're afraid. Apparently people forget that you've known each other for 5 years, 10 years. And you start seeing, this person is not called Jerry today. This person is called Kikuyu. You know, and it's sad. And I just hope that that died with our parents, the boomers. I'm hoping that the millennials are different. I'm hoping that the Gen Zs are definitely different. If there's a particular generation that I have hope with in matters when it comes to tribalism, it's the Gen Z. I do not think they care. I still think that the millennials care a bit, but I don't think that the Gen Zs care. The boomers, obviously, they came up with this, or rather they were brought up where this was very important for them. Because if you think, even, up to date right now, you're probably a Kikuyu babe. You go tell your parents you found a Luo man that you're in love with standing all the red flags, that you want to be married by him. If your parents are conservative, they will say, no, you can't bring a person from that side. Sijui they're what. Where did that come from? So that's why I say I have hope with the Gen Zs that we don't care. I don't care where you come from. Your name is Gloria, fine. Your name is Frida, fine. Your name is Stephanie, fine. I don't, your name is Nkatha, okay. Your name is Otieno, fine. Your name is Njeri, okay. It doesn't matter. And I hope that also the Gen Zs will bring a change when it comes to choosing our leaders. Now, I've ended up speaking about the themes because, like I said, this story is heavy and it makes you think. And I love a film that can bring me to now think about the current times and the past times, because this film does that to you. Makes you think. This film was written by Odongo Robi. I can guess from his name, he's from the lakeside. And the way he represented these people in the film, you can tell Otilo was very, like I've said earlier, arrogant. I would also say he was ignorant. This is a smart man, but he participates in some stupid actions, but he believes he's doing it for the right purpose, which would make, for a huge percent of most of us, it's what most of us do. You believe you're doing the right thing because of what you believe in. But I think so is everyone else. And sadly, we all believe in different things and we end up fighting for what we believe in. And at the end, we are fighting each other. And instead of fighting, for what we believe in, I'm fighting you because you believe this way. What is wrong? How can you believe that? And you end up thinking that whatever I believe is right, whatever you believe is wrong. So Bangarang really, really did well. This is a really heavy film, and I am quite sure this film will remain relevant for a while. I mean, I do hope, it is my hope that Kenya changes, that we don't have to be worried when it's time for elections. You're worried, kutakuwa na, there's that tension that comes about. I hope that will change, and I am actually grateful to the team that made this because imefanya nifikirie, imagine watu wana believe hivi, so they have a right to believe that. I understand mbona mtu anaamini hivyo, although there's a different way to go about it, but you understand why. This person just needs to understand the different way to go about it in order to still get what they want to get. Wow. Anyway, let's go to the acting bit. Nimongelea theme sana and the storyline. That's it. The acting, Utile definitely did this film justice. Aliact vizuri. He was stubborn. Alikuwa ananikasirisha, sometimes ananifurahisha. He gave me all those mixed emotions. I loved his character. Njeri, the only part I loved was when he was crying for Otile. I think, now I've come to learn this. I've seen most characters in the first film ever, and then seeing them like in their third project, and you can see the growth. So I think for Njeri, she just needs to be more on screen, like do more films, do more projects, and you'll definitely see the growth. For this one, you could tell it was probably like her first time or rather second in such a production. I would say her first time. So you can tell she's trying to settle in and get comfortable in front of the cameras. Everyone else acted really well. Dan was amazing. He was such a coward. Like nilikuwa namwona tu na, we mwanaume nini unaogopa, you know. And when you already get that emotion from a viewer, you have excelled. So those were the outstanding again. Where? Evening allergies. Those were the outstanding themes for me in terms of the acting. Like I've said, the street scenes were amazing. The storyline is great. It's a huge conversation starter. And if you relate it to the current times, you just see where we are. And I just, you hope that it's going to be different. I would rate this film an 8 out of 10. 2, because technicalities, baby, the lighting, I would say. But it's an 8. I love a story that can stick. A story that makes me want to talk, a story that makes me angry, a story that evokes feelings. And this film managed to do that. So if you haven't watched Bangarang, find it on Netflix, watch it, then let's, have a conversation about it on my Instagram page, or you can leave a comment right here on my podcast on Spotify. Remember, you can find the podcast on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, and on Pocket Cast, or wherever you find your podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It has been it's been an interesting episode today. I would say I'm struggling a bit because of my allergies, but thanks for listening. And it's a wrap. Bye.